Assalamualaikum and hi, I'm to my lecturer and my fellow friends. My name is Natasha. Together with me today, my group members Anis, Alia, Farhana, Amira, and Nadia. We would like to present a seminar regarding the environmental costs and benefit. So here is the agenda for today. So we have 10 agenda in total which will be discussed during this seminar. Let's get started with the introduction of Environmental Management Accounting. What is EMA actually? Environmental Management Accounting has no single universally accepted definition. However, according to International Federation of Accountants (IFC) Statement Management Accounting Concepts, EME is the management of environmental and economic performance through the development and implementation of appropriate environment-related accounting system and practice. While this may include reporting and auditing in some companies, environmental management accounting typically involves life cycle costing, full cost accounting, benefits assessment, and strategic planning for environmental management. Next, there are also complementary definition which is given by the United Nations Expert Working Group on EMA, which more distinctly highlights both the physical and monetary sides of EMA. So, this definition was developed by international consensus of the group members representing 30 nations. According to the UN Group, EMA is broadly defined to be the identification, collection, analysis, and use of two types of information for internal decision making. Firstly, physical information on the use, flows, and destiny of energy, water, and material, including waste, and also monetary information on environment-related costs, earnings, and savings. Next, we will explain to you how does business activity affect the environment.
Okay, so how does business activity affect the environment? So most organizations purchase energy, water, and other material to support their activities. Manufacturing operations produce waste material that were intended to go into the final product but became waste instead because of product design issues, operating inefficiency, quality issues, and etc. So, manufacturing operations also use resources that are never intended to go into the final product but are necessary to manufacture product, such as water to rinse out chemical tanks between product batches or fuel used for transport operations. Thus, the most obvious example of material-related environmental impact is the generation of waste and emissions, which can affect the health of both human and natural ecosystem, including plants and animals. So, air, water, or land can end up polluted or even contaminated too. So next. Okay, next for the activities such as forestry and the extractions of materials such as coal, oil, natural gas, as well as gold and other minerals can have extreme impact on the environment surrounding extraction site. This impact includes not only the pollutions and waste generated during extraction operations, but also the erosion or outright removal of topsoil and vegetation, sedimentation of nearby water bodies, and the destructions of wildlife feeding, reproduction, and migration habitat. As well, there are impacts on the local human population that depends on the affected ecosystem for food and clean water. The depletion of non-renewable or slowly renewable natural resources is also a cause for concern. So next, I'll pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Thank you, Anis. I am Amira, and now I will continue with EMA Quality Control Cost category. First is the definition of quality control cost is the cost associated with preventing, detecting, and remediating product issues related to quality. Environmental costs are incurred because of poor quality control. The EMA quality cost category would be as follows. First is prevention cost. Next is appraisal cost. And third is failure cost. And the next two cost category would be environmental hidden costs. That is manufacturing loss. And lastly is design cost. And now I will continue to explain one by one of EMA quality control cost category. First is prevention cost. Prevention means the activity that occur to prevent failure. Environmental prevention cost is the cost of any improvement that contribute to reduce impact to the environment or contribute to prevent the failure to occur. Example for prevention activities are the activities that taken for compliance with the state regulation or other standard like ISO 14000, environmental planning, training and improvement that reduce the organization impact to the environment. The next cost is appraisal cost. Appraisal is the activity to reveal shortfalls after they occur. Environmental appraisal cost is the money spent for activity that will reveal shortfalls after they occur. Example of appraisal activity are inspection, either internal or external, the cost of measuring the environmental impact of the company to the environment and environmental audits. The third cost is failure cost. Failure is the cost of non-conformance to the requirement. Environmental failure cost is the cost of the byproduct and the cost to handle them when the process runs according to the specified requirement. It can be further divided into external and internal failure. In the former, it involves third party. In the latter, it does not. For example, scrap is an internal failure. Noise pollution that affect the neighborhood is external failure. The next two costs that I'm going to explain is environmental hidden costs. The environmental hidden costs occur unexpectedly, and if the incident that caused them is not controlled properly at an early stage, their consequences can be severe. The two categories of environmental hidden costs. First is environmental manufacturing loss. Environmental manufacturing loss is the cost of the environmental impact, that is the total of the cost of any unacceptable product, the cost of buy the byproduct and the cost of handle them when the production process is out of the specified requirement. For example is wasted resource to produce defect product, excessive material and energy, and reduced speed to meet the failure target. The other hidden cost is the environmental design cost. Environmental design cost is the cost the company must bear due to the environmental impact that derive from ill design or the money spent in order to achieve more than required product quality. Typical example of design costs are non-conformance to the specification set by the customer or excessive quality that the customer will not experience. Design cost has a unique characteristic. The first is that it costs root to the early stages of a product life, and its consequences are in long term and cumulative. I will pass the next slide to Nabila to explain more about the challenges of business to EMA.
Thank you, Amira. Our agenda number 4 is regarding the challenges or issues businesses face in the EMA. Alright, there are several challenges or issues of businesses face in the EMA. The first one is communication or links between accounting and other departments, often not well developed. For example, technical staff may have considerable experience with the flow of energy, water, and other materials throughout an organization. Environmental and technical personnel, however, often have little knowledge of how those issues are reflected in the accounting records. In contrast, the accountant or controller has much of the accounting information at hand but often little knowledge of the environmental issues the organization faces nor the flow of the physical resources. Thus, accounting personnel are often not providing the types of accounting information that environmental and technical personnel might find most useful. Clearly, they use different information systems that are not checked for consistency. To develop strategies in general will remain as a challenging task. Secondly, environment-related cost information is often hidden in overhead accounts. There are numerous examples of potentially important environment-related costs being inadvertently hidden in the accounting costs, where a manager who would benefit from that information cannot find it easily. A very common way is to assign them to overhead accounts rather than directly to the processes or products that created the cost. Why overhead accounts? Because overhead accounts are a convenient way to collect costs that may be difficult to assign directly to processes or products. However, this practice can create a backlash later when a manager does not know where to look for the needed cost information or being allocated back to cost centers for pricing and other purposes. An example would be hazardous waste disposal costs, which might be quite high for a product line that uses hazardous materials and quite low for another that does not. In this case, the allocation of hazardous waste disposal costs on the basis of production volume would be inaccurate, as would be product pricing and other decisions based on that information. Thirdly, material use, flow, and cost information often is not tracked adequately. Sometimes, conventional cost accounting systems often do not record data on material inputs to and from each cost center in production, but rely on general calculation provided by the production planning system, which may or may not reflect an organization's real world use and flow of materials. Many production planning systems calculate material loss by using inaccurate average loss percentage. They may have little to do with the actual losses that occur during production. The employees on site often have more precise estimates than the accounting system does. Lastly, um, many types of environment-related cost information are not found in the accounting records. Accounting records lack many other tangible environment-related costs. Examples include the costs incurred when poor environmental performance translate into lost sales to customers who care about environmental issues, or lost access to markets with environment-related product restriction, or lost access to financing and insurance when business partners decline to take on the potential environmental risks associated with a business partnership. These types of costs may be difficult to estimate, but they can be both real and significant to an organization's financial health. So I'll pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Thank you, Nabila. Next, we move on to benefit of environmental management accounting, EMA.
Hi, I'm Alia. I'm going to explain the benefit of EMA. Without further ado, let's get started. The first benefit of EMA is compliance. EMA support environmental protection via cost-efficient compliance with environmental regulation and self-imposed environmental policies. So this can be done by planning and implementing pollution control investment, or by investigating and purchasing cost-effective substitute for toxic materials, or by reporting environmental waste and emissions to regulatory authorities. So the second benefit is eco-efficiencies. So EMA supports the simultaneous reduction of costs and environmental impact via more efficient use of energy, water, and materials in internal operation and final product. So for example, by more accurately tracking the flow of energy, water, materials, and waste, or by planning and implementing energy, water, and materials efficiency projects, or other than that, such as assessing the total annual return on investment in eco-efficiency activities. So the third benefit of EME is the strategic position. EME supports the evolution and implementation of cost-effective, and environmentally sensitive programs. It is to ensure an organization's long-term strategic position. So, for example, the business can work with suppliers to design products and services for green markets, or estimating the internal cost of likely future regulation, or by reporting to stakeholders such as customer, investors, and local communities.
So next, what is environmental cost?
So, what is environmental cost? Environmental costs are the costs connected with the actual or potential deterioration, or in other words, decline, of natural assets due to economic activities. Environmental cost management enables businesses to control the costs associated with the environmental impact of the company's business operation. These environmental costs include current and also future environmental impacts the company is responsible for, and labor costs associated with the accounting for environmental costs. So such costs can be viewed from two different perspectives, namely as cost, that is cost associated with the economic units actually or potentially causing environmental deterioration by their own activities, or as cost borne, that is costs incurred by economic units independently of whether they have actually caused the environmental impact. So thank you, that's all from me. Next, I'll pass to the next presenter to present the next topic, the next subtopic.
Next, you might wonder, what is the purpose of environmental costs?
Okay, so what is the purpose of environmental costs? Basically, it's to address the management information needs of managers' corporate activities affect the environment as well as environment-related impact on the corporation. So that is the reason why we should know about environmental costs. So I'll pass to the next presenter.
Thank you, Anis, for the good explanation. Now, I will explain on the tiers of environmental costs. There are 5 tiers of environmental costs. The first tier is conventional cost, the second tier is hidden cost, the third tier is contingent cost, the fourth tier relationship and image cost, and lastly, the fifth tier is societal cost.
Tier 1 is the conventional cost. Conventional cost is a direct cost that can be found in the accounting system, but it may not be reported in the form that it can readily be used by the manager to assess the organization's environmental expenditure. For example, the fuel and gas that may affect the environment. Tier 2 is hidden cost. Hidden cost is a cost that can be found in the accounting system but may be difficult to find and report, as it is often hidden in various overhead accounts. For example, costs from activities such as monitoring and reporting of environmental activities and emission, and also the ongoing cost of cleaning contaminated land. Tier 3 is contingent cost. Contingent cost is cost that may be incurred in future and recognized within the organization's internal reports. disclosed in the notes to the financial statements and external reports of the organizations if the organizations fail to clean up any fines and penalties. Example of contingent cost is cost of remedying and cost of compensating any for future accidental release of substance into the environment. Tier 4 is relationship and image cost. Relationship and image cost is reflect the perception of various stakeholders which are rarely measured in the standard information system and is also difficult to measure objectively. Example of relationship and image cost is the cost incurred is for environmental activities only. Tier 5 is societal cost. Societal cost is a cost that is not directly incurred by the firm. It is a cost sustained by the society. Example of societal cost is cost of natural resources such as rivers. Thank you, and that's all 5 tiers of environmental costs.
Next, we will discuss on the application of environmental costs in industry.
For the application of environmental costs in industry, we choose IKEA as example to see on how company implement environmental costs in their management. So the issue now is air pollution is a major problem in India, and one of the major contributors to India's air pollution is the burning of rice straw. So for the solutions, IKEA now looking at turning rice straw residue into new packaging material, and also as their efforts on reduce fossil fuels in their supply chain, they are also looking at turning rice straw residue into bioenergy. And lastly, the environmental cost incurred by IKEA is the cost of having a program called Better Air Now. Better Air Now is a program held by IKEA in order to reduce air pollution in India. Thank you, and next I will pass to Nadia for the cases related in Malaysia.
Thank you, Fahana, for the great explanation. My name is Nadia. Now I will relate the topic on a case study.
This case study is about the economic and environmental costs and benefits of the renewable fuel standard by Luof Chen, Dipayan Devnath, Jia Chong, Kelsey Perrin, Andy Van Look, and Madhukana. The main objective is to examine the economic and environmental consequences of extending corn ethanol and cellulosic ethanol mandates over the 2016 to 2030 period, and to analyze the trade-offs among these multidimensional effects using the social cost-benefit approach. They found that additional implementation of cellulosic biofuel mandate by 2030 will increase the economic costs. With different types of biofuels offered, it can be converted to monetized value of environmental damages or benefits that can be compared with economic costs.
That's all from us today. If there are any questions, you may leave it in the comment below or in the chat box. Thank you.